Denis Villeneuve's adaptation of Frank Herbert's much-beloved sci-fi novel approaches, but not just on the big screen. A Dune television series is also in the works. The decision seems risky. The movie isn't even out yet and they're already planning a spin-off. I am a bit skeptical about this show, I'm sorry to say. However, Dune has been adapted as a series before with a measure of success. In the year 2000, the Sci-Fi Channel released a 3-part miniseries that ended up being well received by critics. It also won a couple of Emmys, one for Best Cinematography and one for Outstanding Visual Effects. Hard to believe, I know, if you watch it now, some of these effects have not aged well. Though honestly, the only scenes that look really bad are the desert landscape shots. It looks like they used green screens for those and spent most of the money in creating the giant sandworms, which actually still look pretty impressive, I must say, even by today's standards. But again, the sweeping landscape of Arrakis just doesn't have the epicness it should. While the miniseries definitely has its strong points, it unfortunately also has some issues. There's quite a few changes they made to the story. There's little tweaks here and there throughout regarding some characters' actions that are different from the book. They also take a lot of liberties with the story itself, creating an entire subplot that involved the daughter of the Emperor, Princess Irulan of House Carino, which wasn't in the book. In fact, her character was featured only a couple of times throughout the entire story of Dune. I understand to a certain extent the use of artistic license in helping the audience to gain further insight into the characters and their motivations. There is definitely a lot of internal dialogue from the book that is tricky to convey on screen. However, in my opinion, they went a little too far at times. It's a bit of a mixed bag for me in regards to my feelings towards the Sci-Fi Channel series. There's things I like, and things I don't. But more often than not, that seems to be the way it goes when books are adapted to film. But what about this new Dune spin-off that is supposed to be coming out in conjunction with the movie at the end of this year? Will this attempt to bring Dune into our living rooms again be any good? Well, let's consider what we do know about this show. First of all, the title of the series will be called Dune: The Sisterhood, and is set to premiere on Warner Media's brand new streaming service, HBO Max, that is set to launch this spring. While details about this show are scarce, what we do know is that it will focus on the mysterious religious order called the Bene Gesserit. In Frank Herbert's Dune novel, the Bene Gesserit are an exclusively female institution with great power and influence to the social and political structure of the universe. Its members undergo years of intense training to condition their minds and bodies in the mastery of powerful abilities. Some of these include the detection of deceit, and the ability to read the intentions of individuals, the changing of poisons in their bodies to be non-lethal, and the modulation of the voice to manipulate others. Because of the mystery surrounding their order, their powers are often misunderstood and are sometimes seen as magical in nature. They are also highly educated in matters of diplomacy and political affairs. The inner workings of the Bene Gesserit and their motives are strictly hidden from outsiders, as they seek their own agenda for the universe. I would describe them as super soldier spies. Is that a thing? Well, it is in Dune. On the surface, their role is to serve the Empire, but the secretive and ultimate goal of the Bene Gesserit is to produce a messiah of sorts, known as the Kwisatz Haderach, through their breeding and genetics program. This would be the only male who would have the mental and physical abilities of their order, but who would ultimately surpass them, as he would additionally have the ability to see into the future and also the past by accessing the genetic memories of his ancestors. The goal of creating this super being is intended to give their order more direct control over the universe and humanity itself. In the story of Dune, Lady Jessica plays a significant role. She is the legal concubine and only companion to Duke Leto Atreides. She is also a member of this mysterious order, the Bene Gesserit. As the story of Dune begins, we learn that Jessica has disobeyed the order by having a son. Yes, one of the order's many abilities includes being able to control the sex of their offspring. The Bene Gesserit's breeding plan required Jessica to produce a daughter. So needless to say, they are not too pleased with her and her male offspring, who turns out to be Paul, the main character of the story. This Dune spin-off series on HBO Max is supposed to be a prequel to the upcoming film. The pilot episode will also be directed by Denis Villeneuve, and he is listed as an executive producer of the series, alongside Frank Herbert's son Brian, who has continued to write subsequent Dune novels. I'm glad that Brian Herbert is involved, but again my feelings are mixed at this point. I just think it's way too early to be planning a spin-off when the movie hasn't even proven itself yet. I am more hopeful about the movie, but that's probably because of how much we already know about the plot and the cast. However, in regards to this new series, there's so much that has yet to be revealed, which seems odd to me if they actually do intend to release the series this year. But there's been no announcements of a release date or even casting choices or any plot details. The synopsis is basically just a generic explanation of who the Bene Gesserit are. There's no indication of when in the Dune timeline this series is supposed to take place. It's a prequel, but we don't know how far back the events of the series will go. I suppose it could be interesting if the show focused on Lady Jessica before she met Duke Leto Atreides, or even after she has given birth to her son Paul, which is an event we know that caused great disruption to the Order of the Bene Gesserit and their plans. This show could detail events right before the story of Dune begins, or maybe even centuries before. We just don't know yet. But I'll be sure to release more content as more details come to light. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more sci-fi fantasy content. And let me know in the comments, is there anything in particular that you would be interested in seeing from this new show? Are you excited, or do you have mixed feelings? Let me know. Thanks so much for your support, and as always, have a very nerdy day.